Hi, Soo Jae.
Hi, Risa.
Nice to see you.
Nice to see you again.
Every time I see you, I have to say, like, it's like excitement, like with a little bit of nervousness, anxiety, all the things.
I don't say anything that you don't already know. So
I know. Well,
subconsciously
that's
you
part of the
know.
problem, right? Because I know these things. Oh my God. But I have to tell you, it's so great to like, we're in 2025 now, and the Lunar New Year just passed. Um, and you sent me this amazing kind of updated home report. For folks who don't know and you haven't seen the other interview, go check that out first when I interviewed Soo Jae in Portland, and she did my first, I guess, feng shui reading, would you say, assessment of my home with a lot of surprises. And now it's been 6, 7 months, or no, 7, 8 months maybe,
Yeah.
since I did a lot of the cures.
Mm.
And so today we're going to talk about kind of what I should be doing moving forward, and then I guess we'll do a little bit of a reflection on any changes that I've seen in the house, and the people in the house and that sort of
Mm.
thing. Um, but before we get into it, Sujay,
Mm.
if you can just share with folks who you are, and how you kind of got into this work.
Basically, what I do is I read the energy of a space. It's almost like reading an astrology chart for a person. And I match it to the person who's living in their home because there is a soul contract. Always a reason why you're there, and that's what I like to share. Because once you understand that big picture, it makes doing the work a lot easier because you understand it and you can step into it, and you'll definitely see the reason why you moved into that home.
So how do you define feng shui?
Feng Shui to me is an ancient art of reading a space, energy of a space. And I feel that in 2025, a lot of us understand energy as something that's more than just a word. Energy is what we are. Um, we're more than our body, basically. Yeah.
And so feng shui is, I know you deal a lot with, like in terms of feng shui readings, it's really about how the space lives within the
Mm.
natural elements
Mm.
of the world, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like, I mean, you've talked a lot about this, and kind of like your water energy, your wood energy, your metal energy, and
Mm.
your, I'm missing one.
Water,
Wood,
metal,
water, air.
wood. Air is considered in the
Oh,
fire
okay, so fire
element.
energy.
Mm.
So there's four elements, is that right?
Earth, fire, uh, wood, water, and metal. So there's five.
Oh, okay.
Mm.
Okay. So there's five different elements that affect the way the energy of your home flows, essentially.
Yes. Mm.
Okay. So like I don't know if you can give like a very quick summary,
Mm.
what you remember about my house and kind of the
Mm.
major problems, I guess, or the major issues
Ah.
that I had in my house. I don't know if you recall.
If I can remember one word from your reading into your home was relationships, relationships, and relationships. And what I know from you is that your mom, this was your parents' home, and your mom was there. And I know that she was there after her divorce. So that really checks out because the center energy of your home was 1, 2. And until um, February of
She was
last
never
year,
divorced, but she was separated from my dad for
yeah,
30 years or whatever. Yeah.
because the energy of your home was 1, 2, and 1, 2 is strained relationships. So that's why, it shows up a lot of people who are either going through a divorce or, you know, has, you know, been through a divorce. Um, So yeah, that was definitely a big chunk. And then realizing that now, um, one, two actually have evolved from before. As of February last year, it has evolved into a healthier energy than a strained relationship. So it's actually becoming more healthier. And obviously, number two is an energy that's being more supported to the woman. So
Hmm.
I see a lot of very powerful women living with that center energy too, which, you definitely included. Um, yeah, so I realized that at the end of the day, it's still about relationships and repairing relationship and health, making the relationship healthier. And I know that everyone in your family is coming together to live in this home. So I also know that that's a big purpose of why you guys are all coming and living together because um, it's to heal the relationship. Mm.
Hmm. So interesting. Yeah. So, I live here with my husband, my daughter part-time because she's in
Mm.
college, my sister, and then my cousin and her husband actually also live in one part of the house also. So
Mm.
it's a very crowded household.
Mm.
Everybody does have their own space for
Mm.
privacy, but it's yeah, so we've made it work. There's definitely been some very pretty significant bumps in the road.
Mm. Mm.
But I do feel like we're in a direction. I can already feel it that, we're in this direction where there is a lot of healing and there's a lot of change that's going to be
Mm.
happening to resolve some of these relationship issues, which is so interesting that you sent this to me. And I was like, oh, wait, what? Because this report, for those who don't know, like, so your relationship changes every year, right? So, because this report is very different from the first one that you gave me.
Yeah. The things that don't ever change, which is basically the center energy, which the home is born with. So that's their own its own natal chart. That doesn't change. And what kind of home it is. And your home is actually I think it was good for money. Let me just check. Good for money but needed. Let's see. Yeah, it's double
Remember the
facing
water?
home. Double facing home. So it's good for money, but it always needs some kind of support for people.
What does
Um,
that mean, a double facing home?
it just means that double facing home is good for money, like the water energy, which determines the flow of money, is good, is balanced in your home. But the earth energy, which gives stability to the home and which is related to your luck with people, relationship, and health, is not stable enough. So basically that doesn't change, and obviously there's remedies for that. You can add more earth to the front of the house, and I give you specifically where to place more earth. And then the purpose of your home never changes, which is, number 8 for you, which is ruled by the planet Saturn, where everyone is really thinking a lot about money. um,
It's like not enough. Where are we going to get it? How is it? Yeah.
yeah. But the thing that does change is the interior of the home. Every space is made up with 3 different energies, and 2 of the energies are actually what they're born with, but the last 3 is always changing, and it changes with time, and it actually changes every day, every hour, every second, but we're not going to count that because that's too much. We just count like what energy is in that space for the year. And then we try to balance that energy.
And so, how do you determine what's going to happen this year, so to speak, or what, how the energy is flowing in this home? Is this,
Mm,
are you looking at charts? Are you looking, is there some sort of app that you're looking at, or is it, intuition, or you're looking at the, I know it's a lot of different things,
mm.
but what are the major things that you're looking at when you determine, a diagnosis or an analysis of a home?
Ah, well, there are a couple of major things I look at. One is if there's a lock in the house. And that I calculate by doing like kind of like an astrology of the home. It's very
And what do you mean by
mathematical.
lock?
It's where you'll have restrictions, like the flow is blocked. And it can be for about a year or it can be for 20 years. And 20 years is heavy and that's really difficult. But what you have actually is 1 year. And it's
And what
for
I
people.
saw that. So what does that mean? So I see that locks 2025 people lock for a year.
So if you didn't know that you had a lock, basically what will happen is you'll have lots of relationship issues and you wouldn't know what that was about, or you'll come across having health issues and you wouldn't know what that was about. Um, but for you, you know that that's something that's coming to your home. And the thing is, the reason why I look at the natal chart of the person as well as the home is because they always go together. They always go together because it shows up. Your home would have a lock because you also have some kind of block in your natal chart.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
Yeah. And so when you see that there's a lock in the home, that really means like the universe is really saying you have to work on this part of your life, period. It's not like you can avoid it. um, so that's definitely a
I'm
big
so good at
thing that I look
avoiding
at.
though.
Huh?
I'm really
What's
good at avoiding.
we all want to avoid, but at some point, you know, and that's
That is very true.
and I just want to remind you everyone who are living in this home have come to this home to work on relationship. That is the soul contract, period. So
Mm.
this year is going to be a pretty big year for you guys to actually work on that. So even if you have occurrences and issues with relationships, don't see that as something that's bad. See that as an opportunity to work on that part and to really remedy your home and remedy yourself. It's a gift if you know where it's coming from, um,
Right.
and what you can do about it. Um, and then the second thing I really look at is there's a negative afflictions that happen to everybody in their home, and it like rotates to a different location. So that's kind of that map I gave you with different color highlights.
And it did flip because it was kind of more in my bedroom
Mm-hmm.
area, and now
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of in the kitchen
Yeah.
area, dining area.
Yeah. So the one that I try to look for is any of the highlighted area hitting the front door because that's major. That makes it a lot more obvious. And also, like, I check if it lands in people's bedroom because, bedroom, we spend a lot of time. So that's something that you would be faced with as well. Like, that energy is definitely in your face. Basically, you have to deal with it this year. And then what I noticed is that for you, it's not in your bedroom anymore this year, but you do have it in the front entrance. So that means that everybody in your home is going to be dealing with this. And it's in most of the common living room area. So it's definitely about your family. And the pink one specifically is all about argumentative energy. So I would imagine that there will be a lot of, you know, egos playing, parts this year.
Wow,
Yeah. And
that's
then the
crazy.
and then the last thing I look at is just individual spaces. What are the remedies that we're gonna need to neutralize any negatives and enhance any positives? And basically, I have the flying star analysis where I actually write down what that space with the three number combination, what that energy would be like. Because the combinations of these energies create different type of energies. So I explain what that energy is and what remedy to place to neutralize any of the negative and enhance any of the positive.
Right. So that's what you gave me over here,
Yeah.
right?
Uh,
So you're telling, so I see basically it's like north, northeast, east, south, southeast. It's kind of like that's my priority area for this year.
yeah.
Whereas for 2024, it was the opposite actually.
Yes. Yes.
And yeah, it's pretty it still boggles my mind at how spot on this stuff is. Like I
I
don't
know.
even
Me too. I do this every day, and I'm still every day I am so blown away by how like it's you couldn't make this up. And that's why I feel like I am so grateful that this information is something that I get to share. Um, but anyway, yes, definitely
yeah,
mind
no,
blowing.
it's
Yeah.
just so crazy. So maybe we can use one of these, one of your flying star. So let's actually go back. So
Mm.
flying star analysis, what is flying star analysis?
Oh wow, this is definitely a lot
In
to
one sentence or two.
it's one sentence. Flying star analysis is and the stars basically are elements. They're energies. Basically, that it's like look, it's a very complicated ancient wisdom where we calculate how the energy works by understanding how these energies are 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 placed at the time that the space is born and how the energy is shifting because we have the element of space and time is always changing. So that's how the flying star analysis really makes us understand where we are and what this space is about. um yeah.
So you have, so each area of the home, so you've
Mm.
divided it here in terms of like the different directions, north,
Mm-hmm.
south, east, west, and then northeast, southwest, that
Mm.
sort of thing. Um, and each quadrant
Mm.
has its own meaning or
Mm-hmm.
significance in the home,
Mm-hmm.
right? So, for example, northeast is, it says here, knowledge and wisdom,
Mm.
and it says 575.
Mm.
So each quadrant will have its own three numbers, right? So
Yeah.
575 means what?
So first of all, Northeast is related to, this is for everyone. Northeast is always related to self cultivation and learning. It's a place of stillness, quiet. It's where we actually go inward and learn. It's like a wisdom area. So a lot of times we want to keep this area with like books because books is something that symbolizes learning, or a lot of
Mm.
people use this area as kind of like a place to read books, meditate, things of that sort. So this is the in Northeast this year is where we get the number five energy, and number five energy in Flying Star is the most critical because five is all about change. So that makes it the most challenging area for everyone. And it also tells me that everyone is going to experience some revelation or some change as to like how they see the world and how they what they thought. So but it's also the most critical area. So if you're spending a lot of time there, you'll definitely see a huge shift. Um, and for you is 5-7, and 5-7 are one of the most two of the numbers that's quite difficult. I would say five is the most difficult because it's all about like big shift, and seven is all about um, it's a hard it's like this metal energy. It brings up a lot of competition, a lot of fights, um, and it
My
can get
God.
quite violent. So 5-7 at its worst is related to like people harming themselves, um, like suicides and such, because it can really like just it's a very low vibrational number, so it can actually bring up like despair. Uh, and basically, it's a lot of arguments and quarrels. So trouble by fighting. Mm. So it's
Wow.
not really a good number. It's and I don't want to say good or bad because there's no such thing as good or bad. To me, it's more like what are the what are the energies of this home asking you to work on. So
Right.
especially for you guys living in this home in Northeast, which is all about wisdom and learning, and it has this 5-7 energy. So without a doubt in my head, everyone in this home really needs to kind of work on the relationship, getting through the kinks of like understanding each other, having that conversation. Um, yeah, so all I can tell you is we have to, it's important for you to remedy the home. Because when you remedy the home and the place is balanced, then it will give them an opportunity to work through that energy versus when things are the way it is currently, there is no way anyone can work on talk to someone. There's no room for that. And I know this for sure because I've experienced this um, with my parents. Because my parents, they they were always fighting and bickering, and to a point like they don't even know that they talk to each other in such a harsh, conversation. And
I think it's pretty common actually.
yeah, and it was really hard to be even around them because I was like, I just like this is so negative. I don't want to be here. But then once I remedied their home and I went to visit them, um, I was like, whoa, they're not fighting. That was so weird. Like the energy has shifted so much. And what was really fascinating was that my parents both were like, oh yeah, it's because I've evolved. You know, I'm just like, I'm just gonna tolerate him instead of fighting. It's not worth it. But it doesn't matter what they say. Like to me, I feel like the environment gave them just enough, enough of a support that they were like, okay, I could just, just just let it go instead of like fighting Nick and dime, with them. So
Wow. That's so cool. And it's who knows? I don't know why this stuff, yeah, like I'm so fascinated with all of this because, we all know that energy exists. We all feel energy, we can all sense it, even though maybe we can't, you know, see it or,
mm,
taste it or anything like that.
mm,
But there's definitely something there. And you do feel that's what's amazing, right? Is when you feel the energy shift.
yeah.
Um, it's pretty cool. And I do feel like there has been a shift of energies like January, February
Mm,
um, of this year. So that's why, your report came in at such an amazing time for me because
mm,
I feel like I am ready to try to create new remedies for this
mm,
new phase that's
mm,
entering the house and entering our lives and that sort of thing. And how can I be more proactive? Um, so I did the saltwater cures like you did, and
mm.
they're crazy, right? So
Yeah.
it's amazing how, they just, the salt just like, depending on its location. It's
Uh,
like, it's an amazing science experiment. Not even
it
if you don't
is.
believe in this stuff or whatever,
Uh,
just to watch it happen is
uh,
pretty cool.
uh. Did you have, did cats try to like play with it? Because honestly, I feel like they know what it is, they avoid it. They can
Oh, that's
feel what that
interesting.
energy is. And because a lot of my clients, they're worried about their pets. And I'm like, I don't think you have to worry. I think they know what that is.
That's so interesting. Well, that was a huge thing for us. The only way, I was allowed to put these saltwater cures was to make sure that they were away from the pets, essentially.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, nor did they have any interest in them anyway. I don't think they would.
No, they're so much more evolved than we are. Like
Yeah,
I'm convinced that we're the ones with the issue. um,
agreed. Very agreed. Um, so as so kind of like looking through this flying star analysis,
mhm,
is there any oh sorry, so going back to the Northeast. So the
mhm,
cure for
mhm,
that you have here is 70 pounds of metal or moving metal,
mhm,
um, and a saltwater cure.
mhm. So it's
So
really everything.
so literally
It's like
so
everything. It's like
Right.
bring all your feng shui tools out.
I just stuff them all in that corner because it's like, yeah, it needs
Yeah.
a lot of help.
See, what's
So let
really
me ask you.
interesting. Yeah, you want to ask me?
No, I just wanted to ask you. So, like, I actually have my radiators
Mm-hmm.
in this part of the house are
Mm-hmm.
made of metal. Does
Mm-hmm.
that count?
It does, but I also think it's really important for you to bring some kind of metal element to that space as an intention to say I'm actually feng shuiing my space. Because when you have something that is already remedied, it's not really, I mean, if, of course it works, but it's not as powerful as when you actually place something there yourself. Because you are the magic. You are the magic, not the metal. Well, metal is the magic also, but you are the bigger magic basically. So I recommend that you actually place like some kind of metal object. It doesn't have to be 70 pounds, but something that you place there as an intention to clean that negative energy, because that's what metal does. Metal has the tendency to like clean the negative earth energy. And then the moving metal is basically metal that's constantly in motion. And we use that because as the metal is moving, it's constantly going through the air and cleansing the area because, it's critical.
Like regular metal, you're talking about like weights.
Mm-hmm.
I know that you've used kettlebells and things, and then with moving metal, it's like wind chimes and that sort of thing. Is that right?
It could, it's more like open face clock because, wind chimes, you have to like, it's not moving all the time. Moving metal is only moving metal when it's constantly moving. So either some kind of like kinetic, art, you see a lot of these like mobile things that's constantly moving. That's metal part, then that could be used as a moving metal. Or a lot of my clients, they use open face clock because open face means that the metal hand is constantly going through the air, cleansing the space. And we all can use, clocks. So that's just the easy way to implement the feng shui remedy in the space.
It's so interesting. Is there another one more priority area? I mean, I have a lot of priority areas,
Mm.
clearly, but that you feel like that I should really focus on? Because the North is very similar to the
Mm,
Northeast in
mm,
terms of problem and then
mm,
also
mhm,
cure, remedy.
mm,
Um, so, what would you say about, let's say, so in the South you have here is earth
mhm,
as my remedy, and then
mhm,
in the East it's fire. So,
mhm,
East is also priority area, and that's a 939. What does that mean?
mhm. Okay. So I honestly think the Northeast and North is the biggest priority because we just talked about 5-7 energy. And if you look at the number, it's North is 757, right? And
Mm.
then the Northeast is 575. So, I mean, you couldn't make this up. It's like at its climax with the 5-7 energy. So we definitely remedy this because it's creating so much tension of this like, you know, it's like this fighting energy, right? Um, and then the next one I do recommend is the 393 energy in the Northwest because 3 is all about quarrels too. Not as serious number 7, but 3 is definitely things that we have to deal with. And it has like fights, robberies, fires, and we don't want any of those things. So when you actually place fire here, which is the remedy that I wanted you to place, what it does is it would burn all these negativity and it would actually bring like success. So sometimes these remedies, they don't just take care of the bad problems, they enhance. So yeah, the Northwest is actually like a good one to do.
Wow.
Um,
And by fire, you mean like a candle
Fire
or?
basically means you can bring the fire element through color and it's the only element that you can remedy with color. So the colors that represent fire is red, orange, pink, purple, and burgundy. Uh, or if you wanted to bring it through the actual other element, you can place some kind of light, which is fire, and basically have it on all the time. So I recommend people to use night lights. Um, that would be an easy way to implement the fire energy into the space.
So I have to figure out the northern part of the house. I have to figure that
Yeah,
out ASAP.
absolutely. Yeah. Because for South, you have 666, and even though I put priority here, it's because I want I think one of the negative affliction, I feel like it was Tai Sui. Yeah, Tai Sui is in here with the three shy energy. So that's why I put priority here because I want you to put the salt water cure. But in terms of the actual space, 666 is a really good number. It's all about authority and fame and respect, all the good things. Yeah, I
Oh,
mean, it was meant to be, and it was meant to be that all you guys were supposed to be here to work on this together.
right. And that
Mm.
I believe wholeheartedly. I mean, there
Yeah,
are no mistakes like this that happen,
yeah,
right? Even
absolutely.
when, especially I feel like even in the challenging aspects of any sort of living situation or life situation, um, yeah. And oftentimes I'm like, why? Why is this
Mm,
happening? But I think
mm,
it's better to try and kind of try to move through
mm,
it.
mm,
Well, I think that there's a lot of people would be interested in this because you say the Southeast is wealth and abundance sector.
mm. Yeah, so for everyone, we all have a certain direction that's beneficial for our wealth, health, relationships, and just like sleep or developing things for a long term, like very peaceful energy. And there are directions where you want to avoid because they bring in all sorts of issues with health, wealth, and sometimes both, which I consider total loss. And that never changes. The directions that is beneficial or not beneficial for you is something that you're born with, and I think it'll be really good for people to be aware of that, because it's so telling. And what I've been trying to do with my clients is I've been making them like maps so they can kind of see themselves in their home with their floor plan. So it's not like, so for instance, for you, north is your relationship. So it's not facing, it's having your back to. But this direction and this energy that's good for relationship is not just good in the north sector of your home. It means that you could be in any place in your home in this direction and you'll get the benefit of the relationships. So this is really good
So
way
that's
to
another
kind of,
thing. Like, yeah, so I will put that up, but that's what this is.
yeah, it's a really
Because
good
everybody
way.
has a different
Hmm.
map, basically,
Yeah.
in terms of where they should be sitting, depending
Hmm.
on what their natal chart is, right?
Mm. Yeah, so it's a
Yeah.
good way to actually try to rearrange your home, so that you can get the best benefits and avoid certain directions that's not good for you.
Well,
um,
I will say, actually, because I had my desk in facing west with my
mm,
yeah. So and and you were like, no, no, no. The good direction is um
yeah,
facing well with my back to the east, facing
yeah,
west, and not
yeah,
with. But I had it completely opposite, and you're like,
yeah.
no, you should change it. And I was
Mm.
really resistant to it, if you recall. I was like, I really like the way I set up my desk. I did
Yeah,
this whole thing, and you're like, okay, but your wealth position is the opposite
yeah.
direction. So it's like, all right, fine. And I did it, and it's amazing. I have to say, like, I was really surprised how it does for whatever reason. I cannot explain it. I don't know. You know, in the last couple of years in terms of just being really busy with
Mm,
work and work opportunities and stuff has been like off the charts,
mm,
crazy.
Mm.
So yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what kind of magic you're creating here, but
It's not,
there's
I'm not
something in there.
creating the magic. It's you. You know, I just provide information. You're the person who's bringing the magic by actually implementing it. And you wouldn't know unless you tried it. And
Right.
I feel that, you know, we're in a time period where everyone's kind of waking up to this energy and how this thing is not just, you know, woohoo. It's actually, you know, an actual energy that we can actually tap into and understand for our benefit. So I really
We're just
recommend
paying
people to
attention,
give it a
right?
try.
No, I totally agree. I just think that there's something about having, you want to call it energy, vibe, whatever you want to call it. It doesn't matter. It's like,
Mm.
but everybody wants to have that flow, right?
Yeah.
Uh, and especially in their home,
Mm.
because that's your sanctuary, so to speak.
Absolutely. I mean, the world is going through a lot. We are going through a lot. So, you know, I only hope that I can bring a little bit of peace to people's home if they're willing to try. I can't make people do the work, but if they're open to it, I am so grateful to the work. And, you know, I feel that this information is pretty new. Like people know Feng Shui, but I don't think they understand to the depth of what Feng Shui really means. It's really understanding who you are by understanding your environment because you are your home. It's one. So by really implementing the change outward, you're actually doing the work of healing yourself. When you make your environment balanced, then that means you are also making your inner part balanced. It's very fascinating and I really love it because I'm a homebody. I'm home all the time, so I need this.
Yeah, no, I agree. So am I. When I'm
Mm,
home, I'm home. It's
mm,
very rare that I go out anymore. And what kind of advice would you give? So, we all, or many of us, live with other people, right?
mm,
In our homes, and oftentimes you're living with people who don't believe in any of this, and they
mm,
think it's crazy
mm,
woo-woo stuff. And um, like, how do you balance that, like, right? So like I want to do all these remedies in the home, and um but I may not be with people who are necessarily really receptive to the
mm,
idea.
mm.
I mean, you must come in contact with that.
Absolutely. And the thing is, you can't force anyone to do this work. You can't. So, what you can do is just work on your own space. Um, and if you can actually, you know, place some metal and moving metals, you know, discreetly to the area, it will work. I guarantee you that it would make the space a lot more calm and more peaceful. And eventually, as the energy of the home becomes more balanced and stable, I promise you that they will be more open to it. When the energy is really rough, no one's gonna be into this. But when it hits that tipping point, I promise you they will be the one who will be like, oh, I think I would, you know, try that. Why not?
Do you find that there's like a certain, like, you put a remedy, you put a
Mm,
saltwater cure, or you put, a moving metal, whatever, in terms of time, right? Like, how much time do we have to see pass before we start to feel? Is it right away? Is it like you really need to be patient,
mm,
um, for things to start, flowing, that sort of thing? I don't
uh,
know.
I promise you.
I know it's hard to put a time stamp on it,
Yeah,
but
I know, but I have my own experience where I've once moved into an apartment where, like, as soon as I moved in, I was really terrified because so much was going on, you know, with my neighbors and X, Y, and Z. But I promise you, like, I got so scared that I remedied my home in the fastest time possible, maybe within a week, which is kind of insane. But as soon as I did that, everything shifted like instantly. So for me, it was instant. But for other people, it might take a little bit more time, and I can tell you why. It's because we have too many things in our house.
Mm,
Everything that we hold in our house, they all have energies, and they all hold energy of the past, right? So even though you're implementing the remedies into the space to balance it, unless you moved out all the old things that you no longer align to, you want to you want to go forward with, you need to remove them, because every one of those things are just things that's adding to the energy of that space. But if you empty out your space and you implement them, I promise you, you feel it instantaneously. And the reason I was able to feel it so fast is because I was moving from my tiny house to the new home. So I didn't have that much stuff. You realize? So that's why like it was way easier for me to like see that, change instantaneously.
wow, that's pretty cool. That's very, very cool.
I actually want to add one thing. If people are not ready for this feng shui work that we're talking about, that's okay. But what I really want to share is that we're in this time period where the energy is shifting really fast and really hard. And it's because even our earth is shifting. So everyone, all of us is shifting together. What I can share is that we need to declutter as if our life depended on it. It's so important to let go of the things that no longer serves us, because we all like try to hold on to all the things, and it's hard. Decluttering, actually, it's not even about holding on to objects. It's all about like holding on to it's more of an emotional issue than wanting to hold on to an object. We
Right,
hold on to
right.
all these things because we haven't resolved these emotional things.
Mm,
And we all are in this time period where we really need to shed. We all need to kind of shed our old skin and let go. So if, what I can tell you is, rather than trying to like, you know, doing the remedies with me, like that would be amazing. I would love that. But the first step, foremost, is for people to really get clear about what is it in my space that I no longer align with, and remove that, because that alone will be huge. Like you don't need me. You can do the work on your own, and that would already like get you to a place where you will be much more clear, and things will flow to you way better than how it would be if you were holding on to all these old things. They're heavy vibrational things that's just weighing you down. So I really want to
wow.
share that. Mm.
That's great. That's really great, especially right now. We're kind of still in the beginning quarter of 2025, so I feel like people are still in that mode. New Year just passed, so it's
Mm.
really a great time to be shedding. And we're also in
Mm.
the year of the snake, so
Mm.
it's like it's all about kind of shedding. And I'm all for decluttering whenever
Mm.
possible. I feel like we
Yeah.
all hold on to so many different the emotional baggage, the physical baggage.
Mm.
It's like all connected. And yeah, and it's time for us to be free, right?
Mm. Yeah, and
So if people
declutter.
want to get in touch with
Mm.
you or know more about you, where do they
Mm.
go?
They can find me on my website, Intuitive Feng Shui, and I also have Instagram, Intuitive Feng Shui. And for me, this is my passion, my purpose. I really invite people to like get in touch with me and ask me a question. I want to share my knowledge, and I also provide 30-minute free consultations. It's no obligation. I just want to talk to you about your life journey currently, and I would love to talk about your home, because that's my ultimate passion. Yeah, so I would love people to get in touch with me and get to know me, and I want to get to know you too. Mm.
No, that's so awesome. Soo Jae, I no, I just find all this work so fascinating, and I just am so grateful to you for all the work that you put into it and really trying to help me kind of straighten up my life, right? Like, and my family's life, and like, and I have a whole new different perspective on
Mm.
what my home now means, right? And how I can create a more thriving environment for everybody. So I thank you so much for that.
Thank you too, Risa.